To the park and you leave them there. You yell like crazy for your guys. Good for your lungs. Gives you a lift and nobody calls the cops. Pretty girls, lots of them. And a hot dog at the game beats roast beef at the Ritz. You see nice people. See your own national game beautifully played. You're hep to what people are talking about in sports. Yeah, it's a wonderful way to have a real good time and for a man to give his wife and kids a fun day. Let's all go out to the ball game as often as we can get away next season. For my dough, that's living.
A charming challenge. It comes from a little object, a little round ball made up of rubber inside and the yarn about it and horsehide cover with 162 stitches or what have you. What is it that would challenge the interest of a man for 58 years? I tell you, it has blessed me. I bless it.
Wait a minute, honey bunch. Yeah, I know I was going to see you downtown, but I got to meet Ricky. What? He's home? All right, I might as well tell you the truth. I'm going to the ball game. You want to go too? Oh, boy!
Was that serious? I wasn't out. Bobby Richardson, he was in James a little while ago. And he still can't figure it. And I told Bill Mazeroski figured he could have done that. And Richardson, he took a burn. Oh, he did? Yeah. We had that. We had a couple of you. Hey, we had several guys could have been. We could have had Clementi, Mays, there were several. Chick Brooks. Well, a little burn did in the outfield, too. We better believe it. Yes. And Yankee Stadium, he put on a show. Yeah, we had a lot of leaders on that jersey. Yep. Wozniak, the third base coach, one name. There's about 5 or 6. Of course, the batting coach, George Sister, he's gone. The old fellow. Let's see, who's the... did I say Bill Burrow while the coach? He's gone. No, let me see it. I can tell you. Another one. Wait a minute. No, not a player. Bob Rice, traveling secretary. He's gone. Yeah. He's gone. Yeah, that don't make as much news as the other one did, but the fun of it was the World Series. By far. You know, it's for the town of Sedona. They had fun. We did too, didn't we? Yes.
Guys that do play-by-play on ticker tape for good recreation. They learned how to play an audience and how to be theatrical. And when they started doing the games in person, it was even that more. They could make it more exciting than the game was. And you can't make a game exciting if it's a bad game. It's a bad game. But you can make it interesting. And they can make it interesting.
We listened on our way down here to the Allegheny. We both are graduates of Allegheny College.
Yeah.
To me, I love it because I don't listen to games that I'm not interested in.
I got a letter from 1971. We played the Giants in the playoffs. And the games were carried on the Armed Forces Network, picking up our broadcasts. Well, I'm rooting for the Pirates. I don't care. You know, I'm broadcasting the game. It's not like I'm denigrating San Francisco, but I'm happy when the Pirates are doing well. They were doing well. You know. I got a letter from a chaplain. He's a major in Japan. He said, you know, you do a good broadcast. Your broadcasts are good, but you know, you're so partial to Pittsburgh. You should be a little bit more objective. I sent him a letter back and said, you know, I don't know anybody in Japan that's drinking Iron City beer, I'll tell you that. And my loyalty is to Pittsburgh, and that's where it's kind of nice. You know, I'll give you a game, but my audience isn't in Japan. It's in Pittsburgh.
Well, how many years did you have with the Pirates as a ball player?
Not enough. 4 years.
But you were the rest of your career?
I was only in the majors 4 years. I was 7 years in the minors, yeah. 5 in the minors, 2 in the Army.
You didn't play up in the Pony League?
No, I played all South. So when they did ticker tapes, games, they always stayed like an inning behind, so if they had some problems, they'd have Phil with the game. So you always knew what was happening like 20 minutes ahead. they were in an overtime game in the 11th inning or something like that. And the ticker showed Wally Westlake hitting a home run in the 11th inning, and the Pirates got him out in the bottom of the 11th. They were still in the 10th inning, and Rosie Rosewell had the Reds batting or something. He says, I can't take it anymore. He says, Westlake hit a home run, the Pirates won at the 11th. That would be him, yeah.
Well, he was an institution.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, Prince
became one too. Oh, yeah.
Prince was too.
Man, you know, I was very instrumental in Pirates winning the pennant in 1960 because I was traded for Hope Haddix and Burgess after the 58 season, who played a big part in the Pirates winning the pennant in 1960.
That's very good. But that was Cincinnati. Did you go to Cincinnati?
Yes.
Oh, I think so. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of that.
There was no Mets back then.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I went to Cincinnati, and then from Cincinnati I went to Chicago.
How many years
Chicago
did you
to Milwaukee, and then I went to the Mets.
How many years were you with Cincinnati?
Just one.
Just one year in.
You heard The Lost Weekend? You saw the movie The Lost Weekend?
Yeah?
Well, I had a lost year.
What's his name?
No, I had a bad thumb and no one believed me.
There's an also known story where you used to catch anybody, the fastest ball that could be pitched, you catch bare hands or like that.
That Larkin kid,
And where you
they made him play
that was never showed. It was that picture.
He didn't say a word.
My name is Nellie King. For 162 games a year, you travel with players every year, you go to spring training, you develop close relationships with players, and one of the aspects that you miss the most once you retire, and I think athletes die twice when they retire, when everybody dies, but there are two deaths in baseball players' lives when you have to give up the game that you were playing since a child. But I think the thing you miss most when you retire from the game of baseball is the associations you've developed over the years with the players, their wives, and their families, and you miss that. And I think that's one of the great things about this event tonight, that people come back together and are able to relive those relationships and those memories. And it's a pleasure for me to be here tonight because I played with some of these guys, really the Bob Prince team. He gave everybody a name, the dog, the duck, everything he could name of, the kitten, and he had a name for everybody. But it was his team. He loved it, and it brought him out of those terrible years of the 50s into the 60s when life really started to go here. And unless you lived in this area in 1960, you have no understanding of the impact the 1960 team had on this entire community in the tri-state area. They were thirsty for winners. Nobody has won here since 1927, when the Pirates won the National League pennant, were knocked off 4 straight games by the Yankees. They won in such a fashion with late-inning home runs coming behind it with their trademark. And I can remember Bob Skinner hitting a home run in early April, which kind of set the tone for it in the 9th inning. Freddie Hutchinson was the manager, and they got so damn mad he went to tore up the clubhouse because they lost the game they should have won. But I'm sure this team made a lot of managers tear up clubhouses because that was their trademark. They owned the last 3 innings of every game. They knew it, and the teams they were playing knew it too. That's kind of a magic. And I can recall one day in that season, it was an unusual in this community. Arnold Palmer on June the 18th, 1960, won the U.S. Open Championship with a miraculous finish on the last 18 holes at Cherry Hill Country Club in Denver. That occurred about 6:30 or 7:30 at night our time. And I can remember listening to 43 in the World Series, and he was a bullpen coach. Still looks good. Willie Puddin, Sam Barron. Having a nice woman on his arm. And let me introduce the first nice one that he ever had was Susie, and he still has it right here, his wife Susie. When things didn't quite go as well, they thought they were going to win it that year. But a long-time coach, 20 years in the major leagues as a coach. And let me introduce also the fact that he was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. But a great gentleman in Pittsburgh. He used to run a car dealership, and I think the Pirates always did a good break on cars. Lenny Lee, 495 hits. Led the American base. I pitched against him in 1955, the second time I ever saw him. I threw him for safe pitch, and he hit a double left field because I knew I was going to throw him the next pitch. He remembered. He knew how to hit. Mickey Vernon, from the Pirates AAA farm team. Nice Tom. Among the 8 teams in the league, and there was an awful lot of competition for jobs in baseball. And there was Earl Francis, who still lives in Pittsburgh, and he cuts meat for Giant Eagle. Earl's wife, Marie, is here. Here. I met him for the first time in about 15 years, and he pulled my chain real quick. Easter Mile, that's about the best I can say about him. Bob Holtis, right? In the minor leagues. Bill Bird used to always say, you can tell guys you can put the ball and play. He never hired rookie in 58. He had a 9-2 record, a 1.61 earned run average. Almost had a no-hitter, came up with a sore arm. Didn't win a game in 1959, but he did pitch well in 1960. Didn't give up a run. And if you've seen the film, got the bullpen for the World Series of the Pirates in 1960. George Red. What the hell, he's a school teacher. That's why he had a good vocabulary. His wife, Ellen, is 45 games for the Bucks in 60, posted an impressive 8-4 record. We won't talk about Mickey Mantle hitting often because those are flukes, right, Fred? Freddie Green. This was an injury in 59, didn't play very much, but he came back in 1960 and was a valuable utility man for the Pirates, Gene Baker. He later went on to play as a regular with the Mets, hit over 300 with 16 homers and 76 RBIs. Hit 327 in the Pacific Coast League in 1958 before coming up to the Pirates. Joe Christopher. Joe? This guy, he was playing with the then powerful Brooklyn Dodgers and Evans Field. Had a great career in the Major League, 77 wins, 96 saves. He was on those famous Dodger teams in the 50s with Robinson, Campanella, Reese. Tough lineup to get through, I'll tell you that. He didn't have to face, unfortunately. But he came to the Pirates in the middle of the season, won 3 games, saved 3 more in the stretch drive, and he also pitched one of the greatest games in World Series history in 1955, in the first Dodgers championship. He went 10 innings, shutouts the then powerful New York Yankees, one of the great games, and I was so thrilled I sent him a telegram and said, Judas Priest, you're good. And if you don't know about Judas Priest, Branch Rickey was the guy that started him, and it is Clem Levine. Another one of the great names given by Bob Prince, the Duck, played the last month of the 60 season, 3-for-3 the night he stepped in after Grub was injured. Finished the 60 season with a 3 Schofield, Ducky. In 48, and he told me they were thinking of sending him out because he wasn't hitting home runs. Can you believe that? He was hitting 406 at the All-Star break that year. But he retired with a 295 lifetime batting average at the age of 40 after 18 years in the Major League. Has a slew of pinch hitting records. I know he's tried to get him on with a successful leader. He's a great left-handed hitter, Smokey Burgess. Because the Pirates in 60 had Def there. This guy's right name. And everybody talks about the bad breaks that the Yankees got in that, but I think that everybody's played baseball. They understand you can't do anything about errors and bad hops. When you get outs, you get them and you take advantage of them. There should have been the third out of the inning. Roberto Clemente did ground ball to first base. Every year you go to spring training, they work on covering first base. Coates didn't cover first base. Scalman couldn't get there in time. Clemente beat the play at first base. Should have been the third out of the inning. Olvis became the next hitter, or rather, Smith became the next hitter, rather. Hit the home run. Bob Hino hit it. The only similarity there, they're all catchers. Al Smith. This guy spent a lot of time in the minor leagues as an MVP in the minor leagues for about 6 years. It was an unusual stance, Rocky Nelson. The greatest characters in was because hitting was something that's all you're supposed to do. I just got to tell this story. Dick Rowe told it. About 1956, Stewart hit 66 home runs in Lincoln. He came to the Pirates training camp in 1957. And he started to sign his name on the wall where the manager signed his name. And he'd write Dick Stewart, 66, and draw a star around it. And that's where the manager signed it. Stu took over. Everybody thought, who the hell is this young punk coming in here? Brash guy. And the first game we played in the spring training was up at Tampa against the White Sox. Billy Pierce was the pitcher. He hit a line drive, like a 2-iron, out over the center field fence against the wind, a home run. Coach says, when that SOB comes back to the dugout, don't say a word to him, okay? You know the routine. When the guy hits a home run, he walks down the dugout, everybody pats him on the fanny, gets a drink of water, walks back up. I don't know, I never had this happen to me. I witnessed it in other dugouts when I was pitching. But Stewart walks up the dugout, nobody says anything. Walks back up the dugout, nobody says anything. Stu walks out in front of the dugout and he says, boys, you don't have to say a word, not a word. You're going to see a lot more like this year next year. And they did. Big Stewart. Still is eligible, so if there's any young women here, why didn't we have This guy, perhaps the only pitcher to throw a major league no-hitter for 12 perfect innings, rather. He won 2 games in the 60 World Series. He won the final game, pitched a great game in the 4th game of the series when the Pirates needed a win there, and he came up with it. I was fortunate to see him when we were in the Army at Fort Dix during the Korean War, and we were very successful in keeping the North Koreans out of Fort Dix. Not until they got in there. But we had a lot of battles in Hardy Hacks. I'm interviewing people. I was asking them before the series started, who do you think will be the MVP of the series? And everybody came up with different names, Clemente or something. And he was the only guy that said, I think it's going to be Bill Mazeroski. And boy, Harvey won pickle Cardinals. And the worst was letting him go as a manager in 1973 because I thought the job he did in 72, that was the best Pirate team I think I've seen in a long time. And the 73 team had lost the great Roberto Clemente. Steve Blass could... He hit only 91 home runs in the major leagues, and the order remaining would be 90. That was that cheap ballpark in Sports Park. Only eligible 60 All-Star game, product of the Pirate farm system. One of the great swings, hit over 304 times in his career. Did some managing and still is doing some managing. And a great guy to have around too, Bob Skinner. Talking about today is White Jones. Boy, he had more than stuff than anybody on the Pirates staff. I got most of it we traded in Cuba. Bob came up with Branch Rickey, signed him out of Purdue, spent 1 year in the minor leagues, got to the big leagues, and played on the worst Pirate teams you ever could imagine in 1951, 52, suffered through all those years, and finally got a decent ball club in 56, and pitched over 314 innings that year, won 17 games, and was on his way to becoming one of the top right-handers. But this guy pitched 3,612 innings in the major leagues, 302 games, 602 games, seldom missed a ball game, a real workhorse, and the owner of 197 National League victories and a 22-game winner in 1958. Bob Frank. With the Zipper Club, we all had open heart surgery, so we relate to them. Chuck Daniel. Who else will we get into this club?
We have, let's see, you get 5, I have 3, and we got 13.
13-6. His wife, Pat, is here. But he made the forkball famous. In 1954, I played with him in New Orleans. He was a starting pitcher then, but he developed the forkball because Joe Page was with us in spring training in 54. Always had a great fastball, but this pitch set him up to become the greatest relief pitcher in modern day at that time. And that was when the relief pitchers weren't pitching to just 2 batters in the 9th inning and getting saved. Elrace came in the 6th inning or the 7th inning, pitched 3 innings. And if you saw the World Series film, he came into the 8th twice, and came into the 6th once, and came into the 6th game and the 7th game. But a great worker, never had a bad arm. He recommends carpentry work to anybody to keep from getting sore arms. But a tremendous major league career. I was trying to figure out how many saves he had. I don't think it's listed on here, but Elroy, you should be in the Hall of Fame with another chubby guy that's waiting down the lobby with you. Elroy Bates. And I do know how many saves he had. It was 193, so that's an awful lot of saves. And turning the other cheek, he turned other guys' cheeks when he was pitching, because I can remember a couple of times when Ruben Gomez threw at somebody, Deacon threw at Ruben Gomez, and they had a hey Rube at Forbes Field that day when Orlando Cepeda almost took Danny Murtaugh's head off with a fast. Fortunately, he didn't get him. But the Deacon was a great battler, won 2 great games in the World Series despite the bad ankle that he had, and glad to know him as a good close personal friend for his law. Lovely wife, Anita. Another great athlete, an All-American in basketball, major leagues. Struck out only 512 times. That's something like once out of every 16 times you go to bat against some outstanding hitter. And an unbelievable player who said wasn't gifted, he didn't throw that well, couldn't run that well. But Harding Peterson says, you know, the thing that I was amazed most after leading the major leagues and managing in the minor leagues, how much you appreciate guys who make the routine play and make it consistently day in and day out, never miss it. And he said Dick Grove was that kind of a player. He hit 304 times in his career, probably the best opposite field hit-run player you ever saw. He finished a lifetime batting average of 286, none of them were bunts for drag base hits. The captain of the Pirates, winner of the 60 batting title, the MVP, Dick Grove. Just passed away this past year, and we're sorry that's the loss of our ago. Celebrity status comes to this guy simply because of one game. Bottom of the ninth, in the bottom of the ninth inning, rather, the final game of the season, and everybody talks about that. But that's an unbelievable career that he had in the major leagues. Naz used to say he played 17 years, 2,163 games, most double plays in the season, 161, most chances lifetime by a second baseman, most double plays by a second baseman, most games lifetime by a second baseman, most assists lifetime by a second baseman. He made only 203 errors in 17 years with 11,000 chances. You go out in your backyard and throw with your kids, and you're going to drop 10 of those 20, and that's what he's known for, is this. What the hell was that? That was one game. Anybody can get one game, but the hardest thing about this game is grinding out 17 years and doing what this guy did for 17 years. He belongs in the Hall of Fame just because of that. But if you think of pitchers like Elroy Bates, they love Bill Mazeroski. Bill? let me introduce his wife, Miley. You guys can sit down. This but's for you, okay? We're ready to eat. The Pirates traded him to Cincinnati and got Burgess and Haddocks and Oak, and it was a 1959 close to the Pittsburgh guy that had a great career in the major leagues, and he's here too. Franklin Hope, and I'm sure I'll miss some other people here. George Sisler, Frank Osiak, and he looked pretty good the last time we saw him. But those people were for all the awards, and we won the series and got the money. And that's the way it finished up. But the third game, or the second game of the World Series is still a record. There were 32 hits in that game. That's still a World Series record for the most hits. 20 players hit 300 in the series, 12 Yankees and 8 Pirates. And I think if you saw the film, the key game of the World Series here had to be in the third game after the Pirates got knocked off 16-3 and 10-0. They were starting to wonder what's going on here. They got into Yankee Stadium. Vern Law started that game, gave up a run. Bob Serge looped one into right field. They had runners at first and second, one out, a run in, and it looks like the bottom was caving in. And Don Hope made a great play, and we threw out Yogi Bear on a double play, and they get out of it. Vernon pitched a great game, and Elroy came on the last three. What'd you say, Dean? It was a great pitch. It was a great pitch. Gotta make a number, that's right. Deacon made the double play pitch. Right off the end of the bat. He was looking for heat. That's right. Just didn't get it. Nobody ever got your heat. But you're going to watch the last inning of the 1960 World Series and enjoy it. After that, we're going to have question and answer and a final door prize for the autograph test.
Rocky Nelson takes the pitch that comes in 2-0 for the ball. Curry takes his time, then with a count of 2-1. Rocky rises to first pitch and pulls the ball to right field. Well, retreats the wall, but it's the main effort. Gives a powerful drive high over the screen for a home run.
over to give him aid. It's a bad break for Tony and the Yankees. Low motion film reveals the sharpness with which the ball bounded up so that he couldn't even get his hands up fast enough to protect himself. Both Yankee trainers rush out to administer first aid. Manager Casey Stengel also joins the group. Kubek wants to remain in the ballgame, but Casey sends him to the clubhouse. Comes and Jack tries to overcome the bad break. The big road singles to left field, scoring for over while Burton stops the second. The Pirates have moved into a threatening position again. They've cut the lead to 7-5 and have the tying runs on. Now Stengel is out of the mound. He removes Bobby Shantz, who had hurled shutout ball before Rush ran out on him in this frame. Jim Coates takes over and retires the next 2 innings. Then Bob Clancy knocks the ball for a two-run towards first. As Burton scores, Scouring grabs the blowover over to find that Coates is also over to make the play. There is nobody covering first, and Clancy beats it out for a base hit. With no on third and Clancy on first base, Al Smith steps to the plate, settles in his stance, and then misses a vicious swing at a high fastball. When Coates again delivers the same type of fastball that Smith had just missed, it's a far different story on this play.
Bill Burton didn't do much drinking, but they had champagne after that 7th game, and they stuck about 3 bottles in his locker. And everybody had cleared out, and the dog was still there, and the quail were still in the locker room. Bill said to me, he says, "You want to take a shower with me?" I said, "I'm that kind of guy, Quail." He says, "I'm afraid I'm going to fall on my ass. I've had too much champagne, so I took a shower." That's a true story. That's a true story. I told people that was the only record I had in the major leagues. I opened up more cakes of light more than anybody in the National League in 1957. Showered by myself so much I couldn't shower in a group anymore. We have questions and answer session here for about some 10 minutes or so. And if you have any questions you want to ask these gentlemen why about the series or what they're doing with their life there, what were your thoughts after watching a 16?
I just said to myself, oh no, not again, man. We can't do this. We can't let it go on. But the umpire was, was good to me that inning. I think the guy at first base was safe, but he called a double play when Holt tagged the bag and threw on over the first. Got me out of the end. Yeah. And then on, it was, a pretty good ball game.
It's a great game. No way in and closes out.
It was a good feeling, though.
Yeah.
I'll be the first. It was my idea, so everybody else can get out of line behind me. But I'd like to ask Harvey Haddix what it was like after pitching 12 perfect innings and losing the game in the 13th, how he felt.
The day at the office, when you're real tired, you're numb, you just go home and sit down. Only I couldn't go to sit down in the hotel room before you get ready. I think a fellow named Bobby Smith, my roommate at that time, I told him, I said, come on, let's go walk in the street. I said, if you get fined, I said, I got your fine too. Being out after curfew. We walk the street, we're going to walk the street.
Yeah, she might want to ask one of these guys if she hasn't asked the last 30 years. What do you think? Sally Leary's been with the Pirate organization for about 35 years. And she's helped us out a lot to get the show together. Can we get you up here and embarrass you, Sally? Get home,
Bob was pitching when you were. Was it you who was pitching the facing Mantle in the 9th inning in the 7th game?
That was me.
What was the feeling, either Harvey or Bob or just anybody facing Mantle in that situation? It almost seemed like a base hit was kind of a relief, where you started to think that this might get away from you a little bit, and fearing a home run.
It wasn't tough at that time. The toughest time is when I walked onto that mound. To replace Bob. The hair was standing up on the back of my head. No, I think it's true. The only time in my life I ever got nervous, because there was $8,000 right for each one of us. And I realized with each pitch that I threw, it could drop window. So I was nervous. And when you notice on the screen there, and I'm back in a lot of kicking around out there, about 5 minutes worth. It was given to the nervousness. I knew I couldn't pitch the way I was. I finally got rid of the nervousness. I looked up. Well, first there was Mary standing there. Just like that. Man. No, Mary. Male, I think, Sarah, and Sally. All looking at me. I was scared. But I just kept telling myself, I said, you can't bitch being nervous. So I just stayed out there, I cussed myself, I laughed at myself, I did everything. We finally whipped it and I started pitching. So they hit, I think I threw 4 pitches that inning. If I remember right, I'm not mistaken, for the whole inning, 4 pitches, they hit every waist hit I threw. Does that answer your question?
Can you imagine that? But seriously, Roberta had probably as much talent as any ball player we played with. And if you want to name any big name, you have to put his name in with it, really. There wasn't a thing he couldn't do. He had the ability to throw, field, hit, and run. And that's all they ask of anybody who plays in this game, believe me. But when they do it exceptionally, as he did, it's amazing. And he's like a yogi therapist. You always try to get ahead of him. If you want to make that good pitch, which would necessarily be called a waste pitch, where you're just trying to set him up for a future pitch. And that's the one he hit off you every time. He loves to hit that high fastball, and he loves to hit the right field. That's not like a right pitch. But I'll tell you, as far as the Pittsburgh club is concerned, I joined them at a later time. And I can tell you that I hope everyone was happy that he certainly was part of the without him, it certainly never would have happened one way or the other. Thank heavens I could trade it.
71, he really was hard at that point.
You know, when you're losing like that, did you really ever lose confidence? Or did you really think you were going to pull it off? I mean, where were you know, did you ever really decide that? Or did you just really have faith you guys were going to pull it off?
I think you got to look back at the whole 1966, 7th, 8th inning that we come back and won. And I don't think there was a man on that club that felt like we were beat in the 8th inning or 7th inning or 6th inning when we were behind. We felt like we had a deal to win, and it turned out we did win. We won every game and got an out and got a run every time we needed it in 1960.
Give a statistic on the last game. The Pirates left one runner on base in the 9th or the 7th game.
In 1960, which Pirate pitcher had the highest batting average?
Burnwell. Was it you, Joe? Joe said it wasn't him.
And which pitcher had the most home runs on that team?
It wasn't George Witt. 1 for 2, he said. George was 1 for 2. Burnwell had a lot of home runs.
Yeah, I had one every year.
He had one every year.
Whether they needed it or not.
It's more of a statement than it is a question. Growing up when I was 17 and watching you play in the season and the series, Bob Prince personified everybody to us over the airways, and that time there wasn't any cable and you didn't have a TV every night, but you listened to Bob Prince. And when I was at the autograph session and I saw you gentlemen, I just felt like I knew you, and I felt like I wanted to call you by your first names, and like, why didn't you know me? I know you. And I just wondered if there was any nice remembrances that you have of the man that personified you to all of us over the years, if anyone has any good stories about Bob Prince, because as I drove up here today from Cumberland, Maryland, I listened to the 7th game of the World Series on tape, and I got chills, and it was like a time warp. And now we're all here again. And I wondered if anyone had any nice remembrances of Bob Prince, the Governor.
Dick has one, I think.
Very well, because he worked for Bob, with Bob, for so many, many years. And I've known Bob since I was just a boy, and he was working with Rosie Rosewell. Bob Prince, I think to all of us, was something very, very special. There's no way anyone could have lived in the city of Pittsburgh or played in Pittsburgh and not known all the wonderful things Bob Prince did. Yes, he was the voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But Bob Prince, for years and years and years, gave money, gave up his time, his effort, put himself in debt. I remember when the Children's Hospital put on a basketball game and Bob owned UHF. They sold out the field house. Duquesne and Floyd Belvoir played, and Bob ended up putting it on television and donated the money to Children's Hospital. And of course, like a lot of things Bob got into, the station went bankrupt. But he was just a very, very special person, and I say this with all sincerity. I think these guys would agree with me that have been around the Pirate organization. It was an unbelievably bad mistake when KDKA and the Pirates let Bob Prince go, because it hurt attendance, it hurt the Pirates for many, many years. And I think he'll always be somebody so special to anybody that ever played or knew Bob Prince.
Thanks, Ricky, because I guess this ball club evolved from the Rinky Dinks in the early 50s, and Branch Rickey certainly had a lot to do with the 1960 Pirates.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I used to do an addition to Branch Rickey when I was playing. I thought he was a big impact. He could judge talent. There's no doubt about that.
You can look at the Dodgers and you can look at the makeup of the 56 team. It was the start of what the 1960 team really was. I think it formed the basis for it. And Vern Wall was part of that, Mazeroski was that group, Skinner, trying to think who else on that starting. Friend, Space, Clementi. I mean, the trade that they picked up Smokey and Hoke and Harvey was a big trade. But the foundation of that team came from Branch Rickey. And he was criticized. I think he got hurt when he came here. He was great in getting young talent. When he started looking for young talent in the 50s, the Korean War came and all the young players were drafted. And he was going through the same thing that happened. He thought salaries were too high. And he thought salaries were too high anyway. I recall doing an invitation to him one time. I was down in spring training in 1956. Branch Jr. was a great guy, his son. And Branch Jr. said he saw him laying on the table. He had a sheet over him, and Doc Jorgensen was still there. He was rubbing him down. And Branch Jr. says, go ahead and do a takeout on it. Do an invitation. I don't have to take the old man here. I respect him too much. No, go ahead. So I did an invitation of him, and the old man, Billy, started to laugh, to roll a little bit. He started laughing. He says, well, you just praised. He says, that's pretty good. Where did you learn that? Well, I said, I've been in the organization about 10 years, and of course I haven't taken any money out of it. He said, no, you won't.
We had a couple comments about money and what's on the line. I wonder if someone could speak to how the game's changed over 30 years. The salaries are so high, there's so many agents. Is it a different kind of a game, a different kind of a business? How would you compare it then and now in terms of the mentality of it all?
Gene Baker can talk. Marketing has too.
As far as the difference, I think that you're always comparing ball players from different eras. I don't think you can, because the game is changing. Two things now is different. There's a greater emphasis on training. It's done all year, mainly because in my day we had to go to work every day, so we couldn't go to the gym if you wanted to survive. But I think that you're seeing some of the better athletes in the world play baseball now. I think one of the things that's happened is that a lot of young ball players with other sports being major sports now, you're not getting all of the athletes. We're going to basketball, football, and other sports. And I think that's part of the change. And with expansion coming, teams are not going to be as good as other teams in the next few years. But I think once you expand in just a 3 or 4 year period, then the talent will rise to the top. You'll see more people get interested. And baseball will stay the same level. And I think that's the dream of most kids to play in the major leagues. And I hope it doesn't change because I make my living college. I'd like to see some good ball.
A couple different guys can answer this because this team had 5 different players that had siblings or relatives that played the big leagues. But I was talking with Dick today, and his son, Dick Jr., was in an incredibly tense, pressure-filled championship series with the Angels in '86. And I was just wondering, do you feel more pressure for your son in that series or when you were as a player back in 1960?
Well, I never had much trouble when I played. I'm getting nervous or anything. When my son plays, I throw things at the TV and everything else. I can't stand it, to be honest with you. And it's twice as tough to watch as it is to play. I'm sure Bob Skinner and Vern Wall said it makes you pretty nervous to watch your son play. I'd just like to add one thing about this 1960 team. This is the best bunch of guys I ever played with, and I played for a long, long time.
I'm a young person here, and but I think the 60 team wasn't the Grand Meeting team. No. Benny Banack, well, Benny didn't, he thought he brought bad luck to us. He had to way outside the ballpark. Yeah, Benny Banack, yeah, Bill Buck. Got the tie on right here. That was hard.
As a fan, well, I want to direct this question to Hal Smith. I want to know how it felt to be the most famous man in America for 20 whole minutes.
It
Hey, Hal, how did you feel after that tying run scored in the ninth? I remember seeing your head go like that. You were catching in the ninth.
I thought we were going to lose.
Yeah.
That's why I felt that.
Yeah, just hit this one.
I thought we were going to lose the ball game. I really did. So did Bill. So did everybody. But we got ahead, and it's bad. Yankees. I was excited when they were
You know, it's the most famous home run ever hit in World Series history. Nobody's asked Bill Mazeroski how it felt. Somebody else should do this because I'm not very good at explaining very much what happened there. But I don't know. I guess I was rooting for Smitty to stand up, and I wouldn't have to go through all this crap. But it didn't. But I felt like Smitty after they tied the ball game up, and I'm running off the field. I said, "Holy cow, we're not going to win this thing." I know the great Yankees, and I was a Yankee hater from way back because I was a Cleveland Indian fan all my life, and I hated the Yankees. And we put the black cat in front of these guys when they went out and played the Cleveland Indians and everything. But I hated the Yankees very much, but they were great. And when we come off the field, I said, "There ain't no way we're going to win this ball game." I said, "No, we're not going to win it." Now since they tied it up, and I was about as down as Smitty was, and everybody whose head was down. Of course, I didn't. Well, I could say that I knew I was going to hit a home run. I went up there to do that, but I didn't. I just went up there to try to get on base, and I got lucky. That's about all.
Man, who was on deck? Tell him that, sir.
Big Stewart, anytime.
Big Stewart was waiting on deck. Gene Baker said, I'm glad that's where he stayed, too.
Hey, Nellie, there's one thing I'd like to say. You know, Chuck Feeney was on the radio. He's a good friend of all us ball players. And he's retired now. But he was on the radio just here a couple weeks ago on an interview. And they talk about the 1960 Yankee team being a great Yankee team. But in the 4 games that the Pirates won, well, the 3 games the Yankees won, the Pirates were just blown out of it. We didn't have a chance to win. And a great Yankee team, all 4 games were up for grabs. From the 7th inning on, the Pirates won all 4 of them. The Yankees didn't win 1 of them. So that shows how great this team right here was.
Yeah.
I would like to say something. Actually, I said to the players today that my being in the Mets, the Pirates in 1960 has been something very phenomenal because every time I got into the game, something happened. And if you look at what had happened when I got into the game, I got into the game for smoking. I pitched around for him. And after I pitched around for smoking, that's how Hal hit the home run. So I'm not saying what is right or wrong, but there's certain men in the team that the cohesiveness is there. And these are the greatest set of guys that I thought that was ever put on a baseball uniform. When I saw in the Giants, and I got involved here and I hit a home run against Billy Odell. From that day on, I know that they were not going to beat us no matter what the situation was. Now, if you look at the World Series and see what the Yankees did against us, there's no way humanly possible for a team to win being that far behind for them to run the score. But there's a certain side to baseball that nobody understands. It's the aesthetic side. And when we were talking about Branch Rickey, how important Branch Rickey has been to all of us, but he's been very instrumental to me too, especially his son, Twitch. So therefore, there's a lot of things that we all don't understand after we only understand these things after we play. But as long as I've been in the Yankees, on the Mets or the Pirates, and I played, and the games that I've gotten into, now I scored 3 runs in series. I never had a Diamondback, but I still scored 3 runs. Thank you, Coach. To wrap it up, we have Dick Roach, the MVP of the 1960 year, and also the team captain and the batting leader of the 1960 team.
First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank J. Paul Sports Incorporated for giving this big baseball team a chance once again to get back together. This was a very special ball club, as Elroy and everyone else has said. Plus the fact that we're not getting any younger. This is a very special time for all of us. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all you fans who are here, and certainly the wives of our girls and girls team and the players, as we don't see each other that often anymore. And if it weren't for events such as this, you people who put it on, we wouldn't have the opportunity once again to reminisce and brag about all the things that we were fortunate enough and able to do in 1960. God bless you, and thanks. And guys, it's been great being with the best baseball team the world's ever seen.
Old Santa Claus, I'm telling you, baby, I'm through with you, because, just because. One was when you left me. I never knew that I could hurt this way. And then you say hello. I could hardly speak. My heart was beating so, and anyone could tell. You think you know me well. You don't know me. No, you don't know the one who dreams of you each night, who longs to hold your hand, who longs to kiss you tight, to never, never know the one who loves you so. No, you don't know who. With me, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How about cooking something up with me?
Crowd is tense. When Coates again delivers the same type of fastball that Smith had just missed, it's a far different story on this swing. There she goes, out toward the red brick wall in left center. Barra chasing, but it's gone for a home run, scoring a good 15 feet above the wall near the 406-foot marker. Road and Clemente leaping up in glee as they reach the plate. The Pittsburgh crowd going wild. And here comes Hal Smith around third base, and a reception committee is awaiting him. The Pittsburgh fans had the steel girders throbbing like tuning forks with thunderous cheers. The Bucks have come back into the lead 9-7. A downhearted coach leaves the game as Stengel is back to make another pitching change. Bill Mazeroski, leading off the Pirate ninth, watches the first pitch for a ball. Terry, very cautious, takes a lot of time getting the signal and eyeing the batter, but here comes the pitch. And there she goes. It's a long one to left field that's heading for the wall as Barrett keeps going back, and you can kiss it goodbye. It's a home run for Mazeroski, and the Pirates win 9 to become the new baseball champions of the world. Pittsburgh fans waited 33 long years for this. The victory of the Pirates was essentially a team triumph. It was a tribute to their indomitable spirit that they kept rebounding from crushing Yankee bombardments and then finally won it by stealing the very long ball thunder of the Bombers. Even Hollywood couldn't have dreamed up a more thrilling finish, and it came with a dramatic impact that makes baseball unmatched in the world of sports.